Parentification. That about sums up the first story today in my opinion, but I would always love to know what you think. Is there a different spin on it? G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/AmITheA. Now, if you love today's bloody good content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, smack the like button really hard, and enjoy today's bloody good stories. Let's go. Am I the asshole for telling my teen she can't go to a dance because I need her to babysit and she's my only option? My kids are Bindi, 17, Ava, 14, and Fritz, 9. I'll cut right to the problem. My sisters and I are going for an overnight trip late this month. With my older sister's work schedule, the only time we can go for the foreseeable future is the 29th. This has been planned for several weeks. Bindi announced to me this week that her school is doing a Halloween dance on the 29th. She was so excited, and was excitedly planning her costume. I hated to burst her bubble, but I had to tell her that she can't go. You see, Fritz is severely autistic. Exactly what you're probably thinking. He's nonverbal, no eye contact, no toilet training, you know, that sort of thing. This makes it much more difficult to leave him with someone than his sisters ever were. I could easily find a sitter for them when they were younger. The only people who will even take Fritz outside our household are his grandparents, who cannot watch him that weekend. He also does well with Bindi, meaning that she is literally our only option. Bindi didn't take it well and asked me why Ava can't watch him for a few hours while she's at the dance, since Ava has babysat before. Well, Ava is having surgery the Monday before that. Nothing major, but she's not going to be healed up enough to deal with one of her brother's meltdowns by Friday. And I'm not saying that would happen, but it's always a possibility with him. She can help, but someone else needs to be there, and that someone else is going to have to be Bindi. She responded by saying she didn't realize her siblings were so much more important, and went up to her own room scowling. I've tried knocking and calling her, but she keeps sending me straight to voicemail. I get why she's upset and was really looking forward to this dance. It's only for juniors and seniors, and school didn't have it last year thanks to COVID, but I'm going to need her to make a small sacrifice for the family right now. I fully intend to make it up to her, but does expecting her to be there for family make me the asshole? And edit to add, Dad died when Fritz was a baby, and besides my younger sister who will be going on the trip, my family all lives in another state. Now in the comments, one kid special needs, one just had surgery, and you're going out of town? In what world are you not the asshole? You're the asshole. I was just thinking this. Is Bindi expected to take care of both of them? When does she get to have a childhood? You're the asshole. OP is the asshole for leaving her 17-year-old with a 14-year-old recovering from surgery and a 9-year-old who needs one-to-one support. That is screwed up. But you see, OP only has that weekend because her sister can't at another point. So Bindi has to step up and be the adult in this situation, even though she's a teenager and not responsible for either of these two kids. So OP, who is, can go have fun instead, at the expense of her daughter. A small sacrifice for Bindi, but not so small that OP can make it herself. You're the asshole. And considering Fritz's level of disability, I wonder how many small sacrifices for the family Bindi and probably Ava have been expected to make. OP, tread carefully. Bindi is 17 years old, meaning soon she'll be an adult, and then your only option will be free to remove herself as an option. You're the asshole. You are leaving a 17-year-old overnight with a non-verbal 9-year-old and a young teen recovering from surgery, for an unnecessary fun trip for yourself. Ridiculous. I could see if you needed to work or had an emergency yourself, but you just want to have a girls' weekend and want to do it the most irresponsible way possible. This isn't a be there for family situation. You have had weeks to procure a reliable adult babysitter with healthcare experience for the two kids that need someone with healthcare experience, and have chosen not to. Hate to be a downer, but it isn't okay if she had to work either. Maybe in an emergency, depending on the seriousness of said emergency. Parentification is abuse, period. Our next post is titled, Am I the Arsehole for choosing a football game over a wedding? So my wife's friend has a wedding coming up this Sunday that is a few hours away from where we live. The bride is a close friend of my wife's from college, but I've only ever met her a handful of times, and to be honest, she kinda sucks. When we RSVP'd a year ago, I wasn't exactly thrilled to be traveling 3 hours and spending hundreds of dollars for someone I don't even really like. The other thing is that when I RSVP'd a year ago, the NFL schedule wasn't out. I know that sounds silly, but for anyone who follows football, this is a special week in sports history because Tom Brady is returning to play for the New England Patriots. For the Brits and non-sports people, Tom Brady was the quarterback for the New England Patriots for 20 seasons and won 6 championships with them. He won a championship last year in his first season with Tampa Bay and is yet to return to New England until this Sunday. I won't get further into the drama, but suffice to say, this game is monumental and is going to be quite literally historical. A once-in-a-lifetime game for any football fan, and especially for a die-hard Patriots fan like myself, I can't miss it. To be honest, I totally forgot about the wedding day until a few weeks ago, and when I realized the date, I was devastated, but I didn't know how to approach the wife. I knew it would look bad, so last week I reached out to her gay best friend Tito and asked if he had any plans for Sunday. He didn't, and was actually thrilled at the idea of accompanying my wife as a +1 because he loves dancing. So I floated this to her, and she flipped her crap. She told me it was rude and disrespectful, and also downplayed the importance of the game, just like I knew she would. I told her that Tito was happy to attend, but she just gawked at me and then started crying. I know I look like the arsehole here, but am I? I'm not friends with the bride, my wife is, and watching Brady growing up has affected my life more than the bride ever has or ever will. I also get that bailing on a wedding costs the bride and groom money, so to prevent that, I went out of my way to find a replacement. I told my wife she could tell the bride that I was sick, and nobody's going to question that these days, but she is still livid. So am I the arsehole, or am I falling victim to a belief system that simply views football as a stupid game and nothing more? Like I said, this game is literally once in a lifetime, something I tell my kids about. Edit, I'm not going to the game, I'm watching on TV, and for those suggesting I tape it, I could. But that's not practical in the social media age. Also, I obviously care about my wife, just not the bride. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I might be the arsehole because I technically am attempting to bail on a wedding, which could be considered a breach of etiquette. However, I found a replacement. Now in the comments, you're the arsehole. It doesn't matter how much you like this friend of your wife's or how well you know her, this is part of being married. You go to events because you're a good partner, not necessarily because you really want to go yourself. I'm a huge football fan too, and while this game is historical, it is still just a 3 or 4 regular season game. If you want to see it, then record it and watch it later. There is nothing about it that will be spoiled by not being able to watch it live. OP wants to damage multiple relationships over a frickin' football game. Lamau? A game he's going to watch on TV to boot. OP's acting as if he's in the game. Brady, pass to me, I'm open. I had a similar dream, except Brady was open, and he told me that OP was an arsehole.
I can't deal with these jokes. Oh no.
You're the arsehole. Is Tom Brady gonna give a crap about you missing the game? No, because he doesn't know who you are. You made a commitment to your wife, and now you're upset that you jumped the gun and the wedding happens to be on such a monumental day? I can't miss it. You can miss the game. You simply don't want to because of your view of this friend and her wedding. Well, guess what? This isn't about the friend or her wedding. It's about your relationship with your wife. Also, it is pretty sly of you to get Tito excited for the wedding before even discussing this with your wife. I know I look like the arsehole here, but am I? Yes, you don't look like anything. You just are the asshole here, and you appear to already see that. Poor Tito. Even if he gets to go now, his dancing will be tinged with sadness. Counter-suggestion: Tito and the wife go together and have a wonderful time forgetting about shitty husband, then just happen to take all the TV and internet cables for a drive with them. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for walking out on my job? I, 29 female, work as a waitress at a restaurant with a point system. It's 1 point if you are late, 3 points to call off with notice, and 5 points for calling off within 4 hours of your shift. This is fine with me as I have no points this year and have only called off once since 2018. I'm the type who covers shifts, stays late, and generally just go to do my job. Last week, I ended up calling off and was out for a week due to being hospitalized in the ICU with a horrible infection. I let my boss know at 2 a.m. that I was being sent out by helicopter and kept her informed of everything going on. Today was my first day back. I'm not 100% yet, but like many places, we are short-staffed. When I came in today, I opened and got to work. My boss came in 2 hours later and called me into the office. She informed me I was getting 8 points, losing my discounts and bonuses for 90 days, and was on probation. I was dumbfounded and told her that I wasn't signing the papers as it was out of my control. She said if I didn't, I would be terminated, and I told her not to bother and walked out. I'm now getting calls and texts from her and my coworkers saying that they need me and I was an ass for quitting over something so small. My husband thinks that I was in the right because it was ridiculous that I was getting punished for almost dying. Am I the asshole? Now in the comments, not the asshole. You were so sick that you needed to be airlifted by helicopter and relocated to seek special treatment outside of where you currently live, which is well outside of your control. Then you went above and beyond by keeping your boss in the loop the whole time as if your boss were part of your family, something you should not have had to do. Lastly, as a favor to them, even though you were not 100% better, you still made the effort to come in. And what do? They take away your perks and threaten you with termination. Not only are you not the asshole, but you should also be proud of yourself. You stood up for yourself. And it would seem that you called their bluff since now they want you back. Do not go back. I have a family member, cousin, who is working as a server in a restaurant, and I really would love to see them do the same. This is why we need mandated sick leave. If you are sick, there should be no points. People should get paid when they are sick, not get points and put on probation. What the hell? Edit, this isn't referring to my own circumstances, but OP's. I'm from a country where it's illegal not to pay employees when they are sick. It's things like this that encourage people to come in sick and infect everyone else. Did we learn nothing from this pandemic? Yup. We learned that the next pandemic, maybe if we are lucky, even this one, will most likely wipe out the human race because there is like 25% of the population who are morons of unimaginable proportions. Not the asshole. An employer penalizing a staff member in good standing for nearly dying? You were even being considerate enough to communicate during the whole ordeal. Employers keep saying, people don't want to work, but then treating them like they're not people. Your country needs more unions. This should never have happened. Not the asshole. You left a toxic environment and you do not owe those people a thing. Going to the hospital isn't something small and shouldn't be punished. I'm glad you're away from boss and co-workers now. Our next story is titled, Am I the asshole for backing out of attending my son's wedding because his brother isn't invited? I have 2 sons, Isaiah 22 and Daniel 24. They had a great childhood together, save for typical sibling disagreements, but nothing out of the ordinary. They grew up in a big family with loving grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins on both sides. However, as they entered their teenage years, they started resenting each other for outside reasons, because there were no issues at home. Daniel was seeing a young lady when he was 20. It was his high school sweetheart, even after school, that he planned to get engaged to, but it never happened because Isaiah lied to her about Daniel stealing from her parents, and she and her parents believed him. It turned out AmITheA was the one who stole jewelry from Daniel's ex-girlfriend's parents' house and pinned it on Daniel. As a result, her parents filed a police report and Daniel suffered from the lie that AmITheA told to get back at him for selling his bike that originally belonged to Daniel. They were both legally adults when this happened, and we were told to stay out of their conflict, but we couldn't help but get caught up in the middle. Eventually, the boys stopped seeing or talking to each other. Daniel lives in a rental apartment, while AmITheA is still in college. Both boys are in contact with me and the family. Daniel is getting married this month, and he sent me, his dad, and everyone else in the family an invitation, except for AmITheA. I called Daniel to ask since I assumed he probably didn't send AmITheA an invitation, but expected him to accompany me and my husband. He told me no. He intended to not invite his brother because he doesn't want him at his wedding. I felt heavy because AmITheA already apologized and sought forgiveness, and gave Daniel time and space to reconcile, but Daniel kept ignoring him, saying he wanted nothing to do with him. I explained how I felt he was being too harsh on his brother, and he told me not to pressure him about it and to respect his decision. I didn't pressure him, but informed him that since AmITheA isn't invited, then I am not coming to the wedding. Daniel threw a fit about how I was trying to corner him into inviting AmITheA, but I replied that I wasn't. I wasn't trying to pressure him or trying to change his mind, I was just letting him know. He lashed out at me, calling me unbelievable for making his wedding about AmITheA and not respecting his wishes. He added that I was selfish for putting AmITheA's feelings over his, and on his wedding no less. We argued and then he hung up after telling me that if I don't attend, then he will never speak to me again. We haven't talked since then, and my husband agrees that Daniel is the one complicating things and not being graceful towards his brother who wants to share his happy day with him. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. Perhaps because by not attending, I'm not supporting my son and sharing his journey on his big day and making it seem like I care about his brother's feelings more than his. I just wanted to have the family all together and see them happy. Now in the comments, so one son tried to ruin the other son's life with multiple lies, and you are pissed that he wasn't invited to a wedding. You're the asshole. OP, this. It's as simple as it gets. You and your husband should stay out of their relationship. Just know this. OP, you are jeopardizing any chance of a relationship you could have with your grandchildren if Daniel ends up having children. He won't forget that you sided with his brother, who tried to ruin his life, but you insisted on having a relationship that Daniel simply could not do. You're the asshole, OP. That involved the police and against his other fiancée. This isn't some little spat, OP, this is serious. It blew up his brother's entire life, and what were the consequences for AmITheA? Let me guess, none. I have grown sons, and you have way overstepped here. You'll end up losing Daniel and his family, and it'll be your fault. They were right, they are adults, and as such, they get to do their lives how they want, and you have no say. You should have stayed out of it. You say that AmITheA was an adult when the event happened, so he knew better. But you conveniently left out why AmITheA would do that to his brother, and also what his consequences were. I think on purpose because the reason must be awful too. If I was your older son, I'd just uninvite you and write you out of my life. How dare you make this an ultimatum? You have damaged your relationship with him, and I doubt it'll ever come back because I wouldn't forgive you. Has AmITheA always been your favorite? Because you excuse his actions very quickly and blame his brother without understanding him at all. Why is that? Why isn't AmITheA the bad guy here and instead Daniel is the scapegoat? Why isn't this a case of AmITheA getting his consequences for his behavior? This wasn't a brother stealing a video game from another. You better look deep inside both yourself and your husband and figure out why you think you have the right to do this to Daniel, and if you even care, you need to go to him and grovel. You are so wrong. You're the asshole. Anyway guys, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you did like it, tell me what you thought about it down in the comments below, and make sure to just interact with everyone in this community. I love each and every one of you that I get to see on a daily basis. And don't forget, if you are a Patreon subscriber, I love you. You're on the screen right now with the YouTube members as well. If you see yourself, give yourself a pat on the back. You guys help me continue this YouTube journey. You keep me going. I see you guys everywhere. I see your messages, and thank you so much for supporting me. I really love every single one of you. But with that all said, I'm going to be signing off now, guys. I hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.